Yeah,
You're live.
Oh,
Okay. All right. If you guys are anybody's up watching this hour of the night, thank you for staying up and watching. If not, you can watch it on replay. I'd like to, as always, tell you to subscribe, or was it? Was it subscribe? Yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll when you do, you'll get updates automatically when we go live, so I don't have to send out live notices to you. Um,
wow, this is
So please subscribe. Let's get us up. We're like 220, I think, right now, or 219.
224 is what I thought I saw.
Okay, 224. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means we gained a couple, I think. But yeah, let's just keep going. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep pushing it up, guys. Let's push it up. I want to get paid for this so I can retire easily.
Right.
I'm just kidding. All right, guys, we're here to talk about
a good retirement plan.
Yeah, there you go. We're here to talk about the weekend that was with the men and women's hoops. Two exciting finishes, two exciting games. And then we'll do some wrestling, softball, and baseball talk. I'll just get it started, guys. I'm going to tell you with 13 points down with a minute 30 to go, I had written this off, and you guys saw that in the group chat, I believe. I wrote this off. I mean, but I want to know. I think I posted a thing on the Facebook page in the group, checking to see how many other people read them off. I think only one guy said he hadn't written them off yet. Everybody else said, yeah, I written them off. But a lot of them turned the game off. I still watched it. I sat there quietly and watched it, but I felt it just like, watching them slowly come back. And then when they got to like 100 to 95, I was like, oh my God, we actually have a real solid chance here if we can get them to miss some free throws. And how nice was it that guy who was making free throws all day finally missed a free throw?
Yeah, I was into Captain Positive. I don't ever think they're going to lose until they do, because anything can happen. Like that's why you keep coaching till the end, because you just don't know, right?
Right.
In this case, it was Connor that led the huddle, right? He got the players fired up, and then once Fran was done with his stare, he went right into the huddle. If you guys saw that, he turned around, went right into the huddle, and just started basically, getting them fired up again, right?
Right.
That they can do it, and they can. This is what they can do. This is why I say they can beat anybody, and they can lose to anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
this team is so hard to predict. So I just root for them until the very end. I watch, I get excited. I'm like, man, I don't know how you missed that shot, right? Because they were missing wide open threes again.
They were.
That was the only reason the game was the way it was.
Yeah.
They were turning the ball over. Iowa wasn't, right? I mean, Iowa had a chance to just blow these guys out of the water, and then yeah.
How ironic was it in that stretch where I think they made 6 consecutive 3-pointers?
Five.
Okay, 5. That most of those, except for one, were made under. They were contested pretty hard. So it's like, okay, maybe wide open shots isn't what they should be taking. Maybe they should be taking contested shots. Well, anything to add, Paul? I know you're tired here, buddy.
Yeah, no, you know what I learned over the weekend watching those two basketball games is I don't care about Hilton magic. I've heard that thrown around. Carver is absolutely special when when the crowd is there and everything. And I just want to say to the fans who were there, you paid money to be there. Would you leave a movie with 2 minutes left, right? So you can beat the traffic out of the theater. I don't understand why. It's in the song until the game is won, right? It's part of the fight song. If you left early, you might not be allowed to ever sing the fight song ever again.
I don't, since 1993. When Buffalo came back on Houston, my dad is a huge Buffalo fan, right? That day after half, when it was 31-3 or something at the half, my dad made us, we went out in the yard and did yard work. We did everything else. He wouldn't let me watch the game. We came back in and it was like a tie game or something. And my dad was like, what the hell? So since that moment in 1993, that might be where my positivity comes in.
That could be. Yeah.
I've got another great example. My Jaguars this year against the Chargers in the playoffs, down 27-0.
Yeah.
And Paul, you wrote them off on Facebook. You wrote them off.
And I was pretty certain that was over. I did not foresee that kind of comeback. But I did watch the whole game, and boy, I was glad that I did.
Yeah.
But
well, it's as we've seen Iowa this year. The men come back from three deficits that were double digits to win at home this year. Indiana was 21 points, but I don't think they waited that long to start. I can't remember much about that Indiana game, but I don't think they waited until the last minute to make their comeback on that one. And Michigan. I forgot that the Michigan game we were down for a little ways on that one before we came back.
And Coach Hack here, he kind of nailed it, right, with the men's game. Michigan State was turning the ball over. Throughout the game. Iowa was missing a lot of open looks. I mean, they rescued themselves there in the last minute, but it could have easily not had to go to that if they had just made. And by the way, credit to Michigan State. The thing they said, they hadn't shot that well, period, in like 5 years, I think is what I heard, as a team. Like they shot the ball amazingly well. And so, I mean, that's just unbelievable. I think with 19 seconds or so, ESPN had the game as a 99% probability for Michigan State.
It was like a minute 29 on the clock.
Minute 29. Yeah. But how quickly things can change in 89 seconds.
Right. Yeah. Ask you and I. They had a game where I think they lost it double digits in the last few seconds of the game too. I can't remember who. It was in the tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was an amazing comeback. And when Peyton hit that 3-pointer to send the game into overtime, my wife was in the bedroom working on stuff. I was out in the living room, and I go, "Yeah!" And I just jumped up and screamed, "Yeah!" My wife goes, "What the hell happened out there?" Then she realized I was still watching the game.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm not gonna lie, and that's when I like people are just nuts, man. I've been getting so much hate, right? Mm-hmm. And that was my thing is we all know Sanford can shoot, right?
Right.
But he does not play defense. So when he's not hitting those shots, he hurts the team. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole point. Like people didn't understand why he was minus 20. Like in that one thing I shared about him, he was minus 20 on the floor, but he had 10 points. I'm like, that means he was actually, without his 10 points, they would have been minus 30. Right? Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't play any defense. And the same thing with Patrick. Patrick don't play defense. He doesn't even look interested in playing defense. So I'm getting all this hate over my saying about Sam because of what he did, right? But we all know he can do that, but he doesn't do that in the game. If you go back and look at this whole season, if Sanford would have just hit 30% of his threes throughout the beginning, first 10 games, Iowa might have been undefeated. Remember all those wide open threes? He was only shooting 20% or so, or less than 20% for the beginning of the year because he struggled.
Remember, he missed 2 threes at the first Michigan State game that would have won it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, when he's a hot like this, keep him on the floor. I 100% agree. You just kind of hope that he doesn't give up a 3, right? Because if he's hitting a 3 and giving up 2, well, I mean, Iowa's still positive.
Right. But there was time earlier in the game where when we were hitting threes, they'd come back and get one themselves. It just seemed like, how are we supposed to get ahead if they're going to keep coming back? We make a 3, we give up a 3. Make a 3, we give up a 3.
I was thinking the same thing on the free throws, right? We would hit a 3, we would foul them, they'd make both free throws.
Right.
So we were just slowly, I'm like, there's only a minute left. Then there was only 40 seconds left. but they kept hitting their free throws.
Uh,
We would go down and hit a three, and then I'm from Ireland all of a sudden. Free. We'd go
Yeah.
hit a three.
Well, fortunately, he missed one that kept it at
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that helped.
So
And I think he missed another one earlier too.
let me ask you guys, where does this rank for you as far as all-time memorable games? I know it's got that recency bias, but I think back to the comeback win at Kansas, the win over, was it number 1 or number 2 Purdue? 20.
That's my number one game. The Kent McCausland game is what I fell in love with Kent McCausland after that game. Like, I was in high school, I'd be in the gym shooting. I'd be like, Kent McCausland, I would say his name. It was all Reggie Miller before that Kent McCausland game. I'd always pretend like I was Reggie Miller. I loved him. Yeah. And then that Kent McCausland game he just became a hero in my eyes, right? Watching that against Kansas. I think he hit 8 or 9 threes against Kansas.
That's back in the 90s, right? That was 90s.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys, I was living in California in the 90s. That's before streaming, YouTube, and all that good stuff, and internet. So unless a national network was showing an Iowa game, I barely saw very few. So I'm kind of lost during the 90s when it comes to Iowa football and basketball because I didn't see a lot.
That was when I really started. Like in 1985, I was in 3rd grade, and I went and cried my eyes out in the park when Iowa lost Ohio State, when Chuck Long. Maybe that's kind of like my displeasure with Chuck Long throwing 5 picks in that game. I don't know, but I was young. I was in 3rd grade, I remember, and I went to our neighborhood park, and my mom thought I was nuts. She could not figure out what the hell was wrong with me. And it's because of that game. That kind of showed my passion for Iowa sports at that time. And at that time, all we would see is Iowa games. Like, you wouldn't see hardly anything else in Iowa where I was. And you would have to watch Iowa basketball with Mac McCausland and company. So I'm not even sure when that started.
Chips and salsa.
Yeah, the Mac McCausland, I can't remember his partner's name.
I can't either.
That started. They started televising the games late the year they went to the Final Four.
Oh, 83?
Yeah, they started it was like they had this wonderful comeback against Illinois, like down 21 points or something. And all of a sudden they decided to put the Iowa Television Network together. And so they just started televising the games then. And they finished out the season, and then they just carried it over. And I don't know when it finally broke up, because I was in Iowa when it finally broke up, the Iowa Television Network. But yeah, and I got to watch one Iowa basketball game in person at Long Beach. In Long Beach, they were in a tournament, and they played probably the worst team they could have possibly played. And that, and they had, I think, Gary Wright. He was just jamming the ball all over the place. Anyway, Iowa just smoked them, and Bob Hogue was down there doing the television. So I went down behind the camera and said, "Hi, friends in Iowa." Bob Hogue turns around, but he didn't say much to me because he knew who I was, because my dad and him worked together at the KWL station in Waterloo. And so that was fun. That was fun to go. That was a fun game to go to, because I says, I need Iowa to come out west more, and now they will. Now that they're playing USC and UCLA, I just hope I'm not too old and too sick or too crippled to go.
Much fun that's gonna be for Iowa baseball too. Iowa on softball to go out there and have to play those schools, right? You don't have to worry about scheduling UCLA, because you're probably going to have to play them.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, fun. Brian. I can still send you the invite if you want it. I didn't know you were going to come on. Larry Morgan, that was his partner.
Oh, Larry Morgan. No, Brian, I thought was Wednesday, because he has to send Brian a link or whatever, because he's got a toy with the program.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you already send him one before?
No, he didn't ask me to. I can do that if he wants me to.
Because he wants to do some things, but I think he's coming on Wednesday night.
Okay, we're still going Wednesday. I didn't know. He asked me, and I didn't know if we still were or not. So,
we can't, because that was the plan. Tonight was just supposed to be about the last
games.
Week.
Yeah, this weekend. Yeah. Okay.
Wednesday show can be about the next weekend.
Good to see Paulie back. Did I miss the 5 minutes of worshiping Stanley? There'll be no worshiping Stanley tonight.
Oh, but I can do it. Hey, for it.
Did you guys see the comment from the last show? Somebody said, not even 2 minutes in, and we already have Nate Stanley talk.
Yeah, I thought, but it was a lie. It was a lie because you talked for more than that before you gave the reins to me. It was more like 8 minutes into the
Okay. That's fine. I'm glad.
Yeah, because that's when he turned it over to me for Brian. That's why. I mean, the obvious reason you'd bring up Nate Stanley, because those were the years where Iowa's offense was good, right? Mm-hmm. I can't bring up Spencer Petrus's years because that's going to prove Brian sucks, right? I mean, there's a whole reason for Nate Stanley having 68 touchdowns is because that was, the beginning was because of Brian throwing the ball. There you go. He got his Nate Stanley.
There you go. You got your Nate Stanley worshiping now, Arlen. All right.
55-24.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have anything else we want to say on men's basketball? They got a tough one against Indiana tomorrow night.
Right. That one, like I said, I was talking to people about that today because everybody is so negative right now. Even after that win, they're going, they're going to go to Indiana and get smoked because they can't win on the road, blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, they went to the rack and won. They've won some road games, right? They always play good at Indiana. Like they always just play well. Now that was with J-Bo. Like J-Bo had some of his best games at Indiana. So, and he's not there. So I guess we can say that. But this team can beat anybody in the country. So they can go beat Indiana, but they can also go get their butt kicked by Indiana, right? We just don't know. And this is why I'm excited about Brian coming on the show, because he knows basketball and he knows defense. Like I would really like to have a conversation about Iowa's defense or lack thereof. And Brian could teach us a lot about going under screens, and the hedging and a lot of that. So that's what's going to be fun. But I don't understand Iowa's defense. Like I can't even, sometimes you just don't even know what they're trying to do, or they don't try. Like I said, Patrick don't look like he's even invested on defense.
Right. They don't have the depth to go full court pressure all game long like Tom Davis's team does. But I think they play so much better defense, and it turns into offense when they do. I think they need to. I think they need to periodically just put it in there, no matter what.
They play Purdue. Purdue don't have any guards, and everybody's figured out that you can pressure Purdue's guards, and they're going to suck. Right? Yeah. That's what's happening. Iowa proved to everybody, even though it was at the end of the game when Iowa, they came all the way back within 10, right? Mm-hmm. Against Purdue after they went.
I think they got it within 8 or 7, and that's as close as they got.
And see, I feel like they have the depth because they can use other players on the bench with speed if they wanted to go full court press for a while. If they get in foul trouble, they get in foul trouble. But they can use the freshmen. I mean, they have players that they don't use anymore, and they have quickness. But they also turn the ball over, right? So,
yeah. Okay, let's move on to women's game yesterday.
Never mind, Paul.
Paul, did you have something you wanted to say? I will gladly let you say it.
He
looked like he's falling asleep. He needs to say something.
That's why I asked if he had anything to add on.
No, never mind. Sometimes I get something in my head and I just say it and I don't hear anything else. Paul, go for it.
I really don't have anything to add. I mean,
okay.
At the end of the game there, or the end of the day, look, Iowa has to shoot the ball well. They haven't done that on the road particularly well as of late. I mean, we did get the big win at Rutgers. That's tough to do. Very few teams have gone in there and won this year. Iowa is one of them. So I feel like we played pretty well up in East Lansing against Michigan State.
Another one. Yep.
Iowa's gone into some tough environments and played well, and even won. To me, basketball is such a very simple game. the team that shoots better usually wins. And in Iowa's case, since they don't defense travels, but you got to play defense for it to travel. Yeah,
Right.
that they need to make sure that they pack their offense, in their bags and take it with them to Blooming.
Yeah, I can end this on the men's basketball is that either the men's basketball is really good or they're just really bad, right? Because Iowa is still with 8 losses within 1 game of second place. I mean, now they don't have the tiebreaker for second place, so they're technically within 2 games of second place.
Mm-hmm.
So realistically, though, Iowa will just move up the ladder. If they beat Indiana, right, it's all about beating Indiana. That's going to knock Indiana down. And if other teams lose, because they have the tiebreaker on everybody, that's just the weirdest part is they beat everybody that's in front of them except Northwestern and Purdue, right?
I'm not entirely convinced. The Big Ten as a whole this year is not as average as the day is long. Like, I mean, I don't know whether to think Iowa is a good team that when they're playing well could beat just about anyone in the country because they can score with anyone, or if it's just a matter of, the Big Ten itself this year is just very, very average outside of a bad Minnesota team and a Purdue team that when they're playing their best basketball is a top, 1-2 team in the country, right? So it's like then you've got 12 teams that.
Yeah, I mean, that might explain Nebraska's surgence, right?
Right.
The way they're moving up the standings too. They've won 5 in a row, but is that because the Big Ten just stinks, or is Nebraska really getting better? I mean, I don't know. With so many losses, the third place team in the Big Ten has 7 losses, right? Iowa has 8. Like it's the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Chad Lysico sent out a thing and said with Illinois' loss the other night, Iowa's now sitting in the 6th seed spot. Yeah. So they went from 3rd to 9th and up to 6th, but there's still 2 games to go. A lot can change.
They would have even moved up further if Michigan would have lost. If Michigan would have lost, they would have moved up to 5th or 4th. Okay. They had a chance to move up to 4th, but Michigan needed to lose, and then another team needed to lose. And I don't remember who it was, and they both won. Oh, no, that was the Michigan game.
If they can get by Indiana somehow and take care of business against Nebraska at home, I'm convinced that they will be in the top 4.
So am I. Yeah, I've talked about that today as well. Yeah. I really, because some other teams are going to play each other, so they're going to get their 8th loss, right?
Right.
Somebody is.
And you got to think about the amount of talent that came out of the league last year. I think we are kind of seeing some mediocrity here. Rather than, a whole bunch of really good teams. I mean, unfortunately, only 5 guys play at a time. And, as a league, we Jaden Ivey from Purdue gone, obviously Keegan Murray. We're talking about lottery picks here, right? We're talking multiple high round picks out of the Big Ten. The Io DeSumo, gone. Kofi Coburn, right? Didn't he? He moved on.
He's gone. Yeah, he's gone.
Jaden Ivey.
Jaden Ivey. I mentioned him. Didn't Minnesota have a pretty good player, Jackson or something that he moved on? The kid from Wisconsin.
That the butthead.
Yeah, well, they had a couple. Well, no,
Davis. I think his name was Davis the Butthead. You're talking about?
Yeah, Davidson.
That's it.
But then they also had the black guy, and I can't think of his name, who is a good player. I think he was in the running for Big Ten Player of the Year.
I don't remember him for some reason.
And
then don't forget Keegan.
Right, Keegan Murray. Right.
Murray.
See, I mean,
paired up the rookies for the Kings this year.
Yeah. The league lost a lot of high end, talent. And so
That's a good point. I mean, that's a really good point. The only thing I could say to that is the reason why the Big Ten is rated so high is because they're non-conference, which they kick butt in the non-conference against other conferences, right? But I think the ACC is terrible. So I think that Big Ten ACC challenge was. I don't think that shows a darn thing. Everybody in the ACC pretty much stinks. Duke stinks. Like they all just aren't very good. Granted,
North Carolina might not make the tournament.
Who?
North Carolina.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right.
Well, they're at 18 wins. They still have a shot if they can win their final couple games.
Yeah. They have to win. They played Duke at the last game, so they got to win tonight. They're playing somebody tonight, but I can't remember who it is.
And I'm looking at how Duke's season's panned out, and I'm going to tell you guys, I'm a little disappointed we didn't get that win earlier in the season.
Right, but that was when Iowa was extremely shaky. It was another part, right, before we went on our winning streak.
Right.
That was when Iowa couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. Then all of a sudden they're really good, which kind of tells you this team, right? When they're hitting shots, they're going to beat anybody, which is what they do. And they go on a winning streak. But then they have this lull where they just stink. Even at home, they had a game or two that they really stunk at scoring, I believe. They lost twice at home, I think. But so that was during that period. So if they can just hit it, everybody's used to the Chicago stadium, right? Mm-hmm. There is no excuses because I have heard excuses about the new arena. Somebody has a new arena that nobody was used to where we shot really poorly.
Nebraska, I think.
Oh, yeah, maybe it's Nebraska. And then there's another one. You guys said, well, I talked to somebody else too, but they use a different ball. So everybody's going to use that same ball in Chicago. Everybody's going to be used to the arena. So maybe the difference is when they play at home, it's because they're used to the hoops, they're used to the arena, the lighting, like everything. So, which is why when Michigan State went and played on the Navy ship, if you guys remember that, they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat in that game. It was because they were outside on a ship. So,
I just want to say something to Brian real quick. Hey, Brian, I wasn't able to get in there and get the invite sent in the middle of this, so we'll get you on Wednesday night. All right?
You can take my place.
Make sure you send him a link, though, sometime and let him get on so he could see what the program is. So he wants to be able to possibly show us some, like, plays. So he can do, like, play art stuff and show us what he's talking about.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Because I believe he wants to talk a little bit about some football stuff, right? Is that what you guys were?
I don't know if Brian does. I only know that he wanted to talk. I wanted him to talk. I was defense. He probably does.
Yeah.
He didn't tell me. I don't know. That might be what he told you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll get it all straightened out. But Brian, we'll get you Wednesday night because we are definitely doing a show Wednesday. So sorry I wasn't able to do that in mid stream. Okay. Well, I guess we can just go ahead and move on to the women's game.
I wanted to make one more quick point about the Big Ten in general this year. So, I've made this point more than once online over a period of time. So this isn't like a new thing for me. But I've always been a little disappointed at times in the crowd at Carver, not showing up and people saying, well, the game started too early or the game started too late or the weather was bad. And I'm like, all of these excuses that I've heard for why Iowa doesn't sell out, mostly for the weekday games. Mm-hmm. And Iowa went up to Wisconsin. The weather was bad up there. Apparently they didn't have the greatest, showing there attendance wise. I think by about halftime, a lot of their fans moved down into the lower area, and so it looked pretty good on TV, but it's my understanding that their arena was only about half full. So, because I've always said, well, it snows in Madison and it snows in St. Paul and it snows in Ann Arbor, and they don't have any trouble getting their fans to the games.
Yeah. You know what they do? Because, I mean, they're on campus. What I would do in that situation is I would just open up the doors for all the students and just tell the students to come and pack the arena because they don't have to go very far to get to their arenas. I mean, and so that's what I would have done on a snow day.
But
Anyway, I did want to say one last thing on when we were talking about, the fans leaving early and everything. The one reporter did ask Fran, I didn't know if you heard his kind of snarky remark, but they asked him about the fans leaving early, and he just said, "Thanks for coming."
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
He said, "Thanks for coming." I mean, he did what every coach should do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call out your fans and make them pissed off at you. So
Yeah.
just thanks for coming. I mean, they were there in the beginning, right? I think it has a lot to do with the women, though. Women sell out almost every game, right?
Mhm.
So I think people are just choosing to spend their money on the women and then watch the men, and then they have the certain people who won't watch women who always go to the men's games. So I just think it has a lot to do with the women being so good and everybody wanting to be there during the women's game, right? So,
weekend games help, right? I don't know if the Big Ten kind of needs to look at this from a true weather standpoint, right? But you're playing these games on school nights, random nights, and then TV, and if the game can't start until 8 or 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night, local time, right? I mean, so now let's just say it's a 8 o'clock central tip, but you've got kids and you want to bring the kids out to the game. The game doesn't end till 10. And if the weather is rough, it could take 2 hours to get from Iowa City to Cedar Rapids. You're not getting your kids home until midnight, 1 a.m. So, I will say that it's hard to, but you can do it for a 2 o'clock in the afternoon game on a Saturday. So I don't know what the answer to that is.
You're reading Fran's mind. He did a press conference about that because apparently there's some Big Ten teams that had 5 Saturday games in a row, and we didn't have any.
Right.
And Fran said that. He goes, well, I think somebody needs to look into why the heck we don't have any Saturday games. And there's some teams that had 5 straight weekends of Saturday games in the afternoon, like not Saturday night. He's talking like Saturday at 11, 1, 2, where fans will show up because it's Saturday afternoon, like a football game.
Yeah.
So,
and to that end too, I mean, it's not like there's not enough TV resources with the Big Ten, right? Say, well, it's a TV thing. Well, wait a minute, because these games can be on the ESPN family of networks, Fox, CBS, the Big Ten network, right? They could even throw in a BTN Plus or something else. There are options to get, and they say, well, we don't have a way of getting, multiple Big Ten games on at the same time. Yes, you do. Yeah, you really do.
It's the way they're purchased. Because remember Fox, didn't they purchase Iowa football? So it had to be at 11 a.m. or whatever, noon. The big noon kickoff.
Big noon, yeah.
Big noon Eastern.
So I think channels purchase them, and then they have no choice what time it's played. Yeah. The channel gets the.
Yeah. What is sad is Fox didn't set themselves up for primetime football anymore. Or I guess what I'm saying is when Iowa has a chance to play primetime football like they used to, they're playing a team like Michigan or Penn State or something like that. And so Fox is now picking that game up for their big noon game because that's the big game now instead of the night game where I'd rather be on Big Ten because Big Ten is still showing primetime games.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
I expect us to get more 3:30 CBS games. Those are going to be good. You get that theme music going, that dun, 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 dun,
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm glad they haven't changed that.
So we're gonna. I think you're gonna see, Fox big noon kickoff. They're gonna keep their slot, but CBS is gonna want some premier games in that 3:30 slot.
Well,
Big
both
Ten
CBS
Network,
and NBC will also be streaming games on Peacock and Paramount Plus.
right?
And so
More stuff I gotta buy. More stuff I gotta buy.
Exactly.
I know. Tell me about it.
I think the already has Paramount for some Bravo stuff, but I don't think we have Peacock. I don't even know what Peacock is.
I stopped paying for Peacock, and now that they finally brought back a second season of a series I've been watching, and now I'm gonna have to pay for it to watch the series.
Well, a friend of mine who he's a binge watcher, like he'll wait for a whole season to be done, then he'll rent or he'll order HBO Max, watch the whole thing, binge it all on some weekend, and then quit. So he pays like $15, watches everything he wants to get caught up, and then he stops. Right?
That's what I'm going to do with Peacock. Because it looks like second season of Bel Air is coming up, and so I'm going to go binge watch it and then get rid of it. I'm going to be late with my second surgery on my knee coming up next Tuesday. I'll be laid up for a couple of weeks anyway, not doing much.
I believe that the cock comes free with Comcast. So I mean, if I
don't have Comcast here.
Yeah, if you have Comcast Xfinity Internet, for anybody nationwide that could be watching us, you get the free cock. So it's there.
Yeah, the sad thing about it is I live out in the country. Spectrum is our big cable here. I can't get Dish. I can't get DirecTV. I get a thing called T-Mobile Home Internet, which is working really good now because I didn't have that early on when we were doing our original and we kept stalling, we kept freezing and losing each other.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting off on a tangent. We probably should move on because we're going to lose time here.
I swear by YouTube TV. They've been the best since I've gotten it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I got YouTube TV too. That's where I get my stations from. All right, women. Caitlin Clark, a play that she says it wasn't really designed to her. She was option B. If you listen to the national news today when she was talking about it on Dan Patrick's show.
Well, the play, you could see what she's talking about. If Monica was Warnock. If Warnock was wide open, I understand what her point is, and maybe that is what they were trying. But they guarded her, like a blanket, so that left Caitlin wide open, right? But she says she's made it in practice, so I guarantee you it's like a read, like a quarterback read. Okay, we're gonna go here for an easy 2, but if that's covered, we got Caitlin coming around. So
right. Yeah,
I
was afraid that 5 second was going to get called. I was going to be honest with you because it took them long enough to get that inbounds, but I didn't realize that that they must have just got it in. They had to have. But anyhow, it was a good call. She was very fortunate that the person on defender her slipped just long enough to give her some room to fire that thing up, and it went in. I kept saying, I was like, oh my God, Iowa really screwed themselves by all the fouls they did, getting Indiana back in the team. And I'm thinking the only way we can win this now, I said it in our group chat, is we need a Caitlin Clark 3 for a win. And damn if she didn't do it.
Yeah, I didn't understand what you were talking about those fouls because I didn't.
Well, at the end when they were
that foul they called on Monica, that was not a foul. No. Those last 2 free throws,
right?
Like that, she was like this, even leaning backwards, and that girl just tried to shoot it like this and jumped into her.
That's true.
That's
true. Okay, I shouldn't say that Iowa fouled. I guess let's just say there was a lot of fouls called at the end, maybe a couple of phantom ones, but still.
That foul on Monica at the end, I don't even remember any of the other ones because that one stuck out. Was crazy because the shooter, she had her back to Monica, right? And then she just went like this and jumped into Monica.
Right.
But straight up, there was just literally nothing Monica can do.
Right. Yeah.
But it's over. It was a great shot. It set up history is what it did.
It did. It was great. It was fun. What a fun. I mean, another one, jump out of your seat. Yeah.
Right? It was a great weekend for Iowa basketball. I mean,
It was a great weekend for Iowa.
Sports.
It was. Okay, let's just seg that way into, well, I mean, first let's just say Iowa has the number 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament. They play the winner of Purdue and Wisconsin on Friday at 3 p.m., I think.
5:30.
5:30, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that 3:30 your time, probably.
Yeah, that's probably what I was thinking when I said 3:30.
I didn't realize it. We all have different time zones, so it's going to be different. But and did you hear? Caitlin says she probably use her COVID year, so she's going to score 5,000 points.
Yeah.
She did.
Did you hear her answer when he asked her if she would probably make more money by not going to the WNBA? If she'd be taking a pay cut, and she basically said, well, she almost admitted that yes, but she said those pro contracts that she's got sponsors are going to carry over with her into the pros, so she'd be making about the same.
But her answer by saying that I'll probably use my COVID year because I love it here, that tells you everything.
Right. Yeah, it does. I think he was very smart, Dan Patrick, on that question. He read right into it.
Yeah, because she's sponsored by Nike. She's making bank, right?
Right.
By the way, how fun is it that this Iowa women's team was the first? They were involved in the first Fox national basketball game for a women's game earlier in the year. I think it was the Michigan game, and then and then having the first college game day, right? So for a women's basketball game, so that's pretty cool. I mean, they're getting all kinds of attention, and certainly Caitlin Clark receives the lion's share of that. But it's from a national perspective and women's basketball, they're getting better coverage than all of those great UConn teams, than those great Tennessee teams,
Right. No, I think the difference here is I was not loaded like UConn, right? Mm-hmm. Iowa has some good players around Caitlin, and Caitlin is changing the game. Just like do you remember when Steph Curry was at Davidson in the tournament? All of a sudden, that's when the 3-point shot took off. Do you remember? Like, he took Davidson to the Elite Eight. And it's because nobody could guard him because he was hitting, shots like Caitlin. Caitlin is the Steph Curry of freaking women's basketball.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it after she made that shot yesterday. Her going around the gym. It's like.
Well, she does that in practice when she does it against the boys. Mm-hmm. That's what she said. She goes, that's exactly what she does. She wasn't even thinking about anything. When she does that against the boys in practice, she talks smack.
Yeah. So, that's what I love about her. I mean, she's just. I like her competitive. She talks smack.
Her dad, same thing. Her dad said that's exactly how he played basketball because he played for Simpson, but he couldn't hit it from the logo, right? He's impressed with his daughter on how much better she is, but he said he was a very confident, very aggressive basketball player, like passionate. And he says he sees that in Caitlin. It's just like what he was. And then they asked him, well, what about your shot from the logo? He goes, no.
And actually, Phil Parker's paw, I was kind of wondering about Coach's mysterious third nipple.
I'm showing some cleavage.
Oh my God. This is
I didn't
fun.
know we were doing this. So I told him when Paul said, "Are we getting on?" I was like, "Well, I got to get ready for this."
Yeah, I was kind of like eating my supper in the living room, watching "It Is Enough" on TV with my wife, and I just happened to pick up the phone. I wasn't going to pick it up, and I just happened to pick it up and look at it. I go, "Oh, these guys want to go on now."
Yeah, Brian, I'm pretty sure that was part of what she meant by saying, "I'll probably use my COVID year."
Yeah, read into it. She can't come out and say that though.
Right.
Yeah.
We
All
better
right.
get
I just
wrestling.
want to say something real quick about wrestling. Then I want to get into the weekend with the baseball and the softball. The wrestlers have pre-seeded for the Big Ten tournament. 8 of the wrestlers are top five seeds, and
Oh,
2
wow.
of them are number 1.
Now these are Big Ten rankings, not national.
Yeah. This is for the Big Ten tournament only.
Oh,
Big Ten seedings.
Yeah. These are if you read into it, they're going to have a coaches meeting Friday morning before they start wrestling, and the permanent brackets and seedings will come out at that time, which means coaches are going to go into these meetings and fight for higher seeds for their players. So we could have a couple drop out of the top 5 or even go higher than what they are already. But we got 2 number 3s, 2 number 1s, and a number 5.
why the hell? Why? I mean, so this is not a. So this isn't like a real like. Why can you go in and fight for your kid?
I can actually.
They do that every year. I don't understand it, but they do it.
Well,
They go into those meetings and they're saying he's did this, and that. He should have a higher ranking, but then another coach is going to get mad because his player is going to get bumped down lower.
To me,
so this is the seeding thing, right? So basically, it's not like football or basketball where there's kind of this set number of games and you have this many conference games and whatever. I mean, obviously there are the duels and things like that, but how many like non-conference duels you have, how many tournaments you wrestle in, if you watch closely, you'll see some of these guys have like, like say Spencer Lee, if he would have wrestled every match and everything, he might have been like 22-0, whereas you'll see some guys are 5-1. Right. So, I mean, there's kind of an injury factor there. There's a lot of different things. Now, as far as like these pre-seedings go, a lot of that is based on like your the intermat rankings and things like that. And to get ranked in those things, you have to have wrestled in so many different matches, minimum, threshold. Now, for instance, Spencer Lee, he's going to be a unanimous number 1 seed. It's not going to matter, right?
Oh, okay. I was going to wonder because I was talking to somebody about that intermat thing you just said, and he said Spencer Lee was like 18th.
Right. Again, because he doesn't have
15 matches.
He doesn't. Right. So, but he'll still go into the NCAAs. Yeah, assuming he wins the Big Tens, he'll go in as the number 1 seed.
Yeah, that is not going to be that intermat is not going to affect the seedings for the Big Ten tournament or the nationals. I don't believe.
Okay,
that's just the coaches' opinions, and they had to have 15 matches to be considered.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And the other thing I was going to say is Penn State has 7 wrestlers either ranked 1 or 2. So when you were saying like it's like Penn State and I think Paul, you said it. Penn State and Iowa and everybody else. I think it's Penn State by themselves, Iowa next, and then everybody else.
Well, I think the duel, in Penn State proves what I'm saying is true. I mean, Iowa was competitive, right?
They were competitive. They were competitive, yes.
So I mean, Iowa belongs in that tier with Penn State. How many times are we going to see in both the Big Tens and nationals? Iowa and Penn State in championship matches, that remains to be seen. But I mean, I think we're in the weight classes where Iowa is better. They're better, right? Spencer Lee, Real Woods. I'm trying to think who else. They have 4 or 5 legit guys who could win natties. And then it is what it is.
Like Brody Teske is ranked way low. He's ranked low, like 7th or 8th or something. But he hasn't wrestled a lot, and he's proven to me that he can hang in there, and I think he might surprise some people. I really do.
Abe Assad is another guy who we haven't seen a
Yeah.
ton of this year, who will absolutely out wrestle his whatever he winds up being seeded. He'll out wrestle his seed. Um,
Jake Warner should, because he was in the finals last year. But he's
Warner
ranked low too.
Warner's another one, and
Does
then
Cassiope still wrestle?
who?
Isn't his name Cassiope?
Yep, our
Yeah.
heavyweight, Cass at heavyweight.
Yeah, he's number 3, and Penn State's number 1 at that. I don't know
And
who's
then
number 2.
the guy from Michigan is number 2.
Okay, and we beat him, and yet he's still the 3rd ranked. Go figure.
Well, that's
He
because
beat
Cass
the
just got
Michigan guy, and yet
Brian
he's number
said it's
3.
all subjective. So
Yeah, it is subjective. Yeah,
Hey,
I saw that.
one quick question about wrestling. Let's say you win the match 22-0, right? Like you
duel.
you build up a bunch of points or whatever. How many points does that count for the team?
What do you mean?
Because the match is over. It's not a pin, but your 3 minutes is up or whatever.
Okay, well, first of all, if you get up 15, the match is over at that point. Unless you're in a pinning situation, as soon as one wrestler gets up 15, it's over. It's a tech fall, and that's worth 15 points in a duel.
In a duel, what's that worth? What's that worth to
the tournament?
The team points in the standings.
So that can vary depending on what round of the tournament you're in, because tournament scoring is different than dual scoring. And there are multipliers and things like that come into play too, because if you're in the winner's bracket or you're in, the 3rd place bracket or the 5th place bracket, you get more points for bonus points and things like that
for the
winner's bracket. Yeah. So
that makes sense. So when you pin somebody in 30 seconds, like Lee did, that's just a fall. Like he didn't get any extra points for doing it in the first round.
No.
That's 16 points in a duel. Doesn't matter if it happens in the first 10 seconds or the last 10 seconds.
Okay. Those are 2 questions I had.
Okay. Well, why don't we move on? We got about 10 minutes or so to wrap this up. Let's talk about the fantastic weekend the baseball team had, and the softball team didn't do too bad themselves.
Well, the softball team they're good. They're so much better than they have been. That tells me Gillespie is she's working, she's making them better, right? They're now. She took over a dumpster fire like Fran did. Like Iowa softball hasn't been good since the 90s. And you wouldn't believe it, but they've been to 4 World Series. I mean, they've been good. There's a history. And actually, I think Gillespie was a player on one of the World Series teams. So,
okay.
I believe so. But she's turning things now. They have Denali Locker, who she is all world, right? She's really good. She can pitch. She's a home run hitter. She's their cleanup hitter. So starting with having somebody like her, who was there when she got there, but having a solid piece is helping. So I'm just enjoying watching them right now because, I mean, losing 2-1 to UCLA after I had a conversation with a friend going, I just hope they go 7 innings. Because in softball, you're down by 10 after 5, it's over.
Yeah.
So, and I was nervous because UCLA can really smash the ball. But, they had Nia Carter, the leadoff hitter. I think she's batting like 500 and change. Like she's getting on base. So the softball team, I mean, they've played some competition this year, and they've played 14 games already. They're 8-6, and I think they've already played 14 games in just 2 weekends. So I'm thinking their coach just said, let's go play as many games as we can because of that. The Northern, standard or whatever, the Northern teams where they just get penalized because they don't have any big wins. Right.
Right.
So that was the biggest complaint last year with Rick Heller, where that
I went through this morning on their win-loss record, and I counted them as 9-6. You put them up there as 8-6, so maybe I counted a scrimmage game.
Am I wrong? You could have counted the scrimmage game, but I believe they're 8-6.
Okay.
But you could be right. I'll double check myself at the end.
Mhm.
But you might have counted a scrimmage game.
That's
But
what I was wondering after I saw that.
yeah, but the
I'll look it up right now just to make sure.
okay, the
That's
baseball.
what it was when Iowa played LSU in baseball. Was a scrimmage game for Iowa.
Right.
I guess. Holy cow.
That was amazing, and that just shows like that came right after they got their butts kicked by Sam Houston. They could not hit. That just tells you how important the pitcher is, right? Sam Houston State had a pitcher that Iowa couldn't hit. They beat Iowa 6-0. So I was dreaded. That was their only loss of the season so far. But I was dreading that dang LSU game because of that. And then it was 7-0 in the first 4 innings. And I'm going, all right.
Brian has a question here as long as we got that up there.
Yeah. That's a good question. The baseball rankings are weird. It's not the same as all the other sport. Well, it's not the same as basketball and football. They're trying to figure out their ranking system. Baseball is just weird. So is softball. So Iowa is now ranked 24th in these weird, polls that just started this year.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that they used for the tournament at the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember exactly what it's called, but they don't have Iowa ranked or nothing. Iowa's RPI is like 17, 18. So it's up there though. So that's, right there, that would put them in the tournament in a very good seat.
So they probably have something similar to the net rankings, but it's for baseball.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, it's really weird because I don't understand the net ranking.
Yeah.
Basketball.
The baseball's only lost one game this year.
Yep.
The women are 8-6. I looked it up, so I must have counted a scrimmage game.
Yeah, I'm really excited for them as well as they keep going because their starting pitcher is the one that pitched against UCLA, right? Their dominant pitcher, and shut down UCLA. They lost 2-1. So as they get into the 3 games a weekend type, not these big tournaments where they got to pitch all these other pitchers, I think Iowa, when they start getting up softball, you can have one pitcher pitch 2 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't hurt their shoulders the way they pitch compared to baseball. So it's not the same as far as, your durability and all that. So I don't know how much they'll actually pitch when they get into playing 3 games a weekend. But
right.
I'm excited for them just because they look better. Like I don't think they're a tournament team like baseball, but they're not the old Iowa softball, right?
They have a winning record, which is important.
They got better last year. I think they were under 500 though, but they were competitive last year. Now they're starting to win games.
Are there any hotties on the softball team worth tuning into?
All right, moving on.
You put me in a bad situation. These are college girls. I can't. you got me at when I said Jazz Shelley last so,
yeah, Paul, I'm not going to talk about that because I'm 66 years old and I shouldn't be even thinking about that kind of stuff.
Watch an Iowa game. You should watch an Iowa softball game. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, most of them will be on BTN Plus once they get to the Big Ten.
Yeah,
you won't have to buy those crazy Flow Wrestling or Flow whatever it is, Flow softball channels.
It's Flow baseball, Flow softball, or D1 baseball. Like that's an Omaha thing. Well, no, they started in Omaha, but they're across the whole country. They're actually here in Omaha. D1 baseball.
Okay, my friend Alex is on here, Paul. He says that was a very important question.
Yeah, for softball, is it ant flow softball?
Oh God.
Jeez, yeah. Oh gosh. So I just wanted to say one thing about the UCLA game. I asked the question, but I looked it up myself. Did Lauren Shaw pitch against Iowa? She did for 1 inning.
Yeah.
She pitched 1 inning against her former team. I don't know how she did.
Do you know where she's from? Is she from Iowa or?
I don't know. I just know that she spent a year, at least 1 year, maybe 2 years at Iowa, and spent the last 2 years at UCLA.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't really sure because I don't remember the pitchers' names for UCLA. I was just into how
they use several. They use like 4 pitchers in that game.
Yeah. Iowa.
You watched it, so I guess you would know that.
Yeah. But with Iowa baseball, this was exciting. Now they got to continue, and it's another one of those things where, like Iowa basketball, as long as they could shoot, they can win. Well, with baseball, they actually have defense. Their defense is really good, but they just got to get the bats going. And they got shut out 6-0 to Sam Houston State, but I'm questioning how they took that game because they had LSU the very next game, right? But then the bats came alive against LSU and Kansas State. How am I forgetting his name? Darn it. Their best hitter on the team, he hit a solo shot against Kansas State to win it in the 9th inning. They won 6-5. He's a pro ball player. He could have went pro last year, and he came back. So he'll probably go pro this year.
Don't let some of these smaller school names or whatever fool you in baseball and things like, especially down here in Florida. I've got a couple of programs here in Jacksonville University, UNF, University of North Florida. These are not big time schools. They don't even have football. They're in the A-Sun, I think, in basketball, but Sam, just because you made Sam Houston State, don't.
No.
Yeah.
You're right, because Sam Houston State's a good team.
Right.
They have. I
sleep on them.
I think they're 6-3 or something, because they lost to LSU. LSU ended up beating them on Sunday.
I'm just saying that there's no shame necessarily in losing to what you might perceive as a lesser team, because they're not, whatever. That's all I'm saying. And yeah, I heard about this. Toussaint is going off against the
Iowa State right now. Yeah, I should have had that game on. I didn't realize they were playing.
Keaton Anthony's his name.
Okay. That's why you went dark. You had to go off the phone for a minute.
Yeah, I had to go look at. And I'll tell you what, Brody, he's got to keep his cool, right? He was pitching a gem, but he was, when it said he was erratic, what it was he was trying to paint the corners, right? Mm-hmm. He was painting the corners, and he was doing a really good job of it, and that's what was making him mad, because they kept calling balls.
Oh.
However, he did not give them anything to hit, right? Mm-hmm. So he walked 8 batters. But he would always end up striking somebody out or getting the ground ball, right? Because he wouldn't give him anything to hit. He had 6 strikeouts and 8 walks before he got. That was only in 3 innings. So he
kept giving him the old high heater. Gotta love it.
I mean, what did you see the video I shared of his 101 mile an hour fastball?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, he topped the 101. The announcers were like, "That's 101." But it was scary. Like it was 101. Like, and when you watch him and he wasn't throwing strikes all the time, that would scare the batter. You don't know where the ball is going.
Right.
Hey, my friend Alex just put this up here. Just saw that there's a high school basketball team, I believe, girls from Waterloo West in the top 20 nationally. I just want to say how ironic that is, because back in the 70s, Waterloo West girls basketball was probably one of the worst basketball teams in the state of Iowa. How ironic that they'd be a nationally ranked team. So I'm moving on.
Isn't that Hannah Stolke's from?
Hmm?
Isn't that where Hannah Stolke's from?
I don't think so.
Waterloo West? She's from somewhere around there.
I did not know that. Let me look it up.
Softball players like middle-aged, overweight, podcaster.
My kind of girls. Oh yeah.
You guys.
Oh, that was a good one.
That's fantastic.
I get uncomfortable when Paul does that, because they're so young, and I look at them as like girls, and I get yelled at online when I call them girls. Like, women will get on me. They're not girls, they're women. I'm like, to me, they're still college chicks. They're college girls. They're not women. Technically, they are, but yeah, there is some, like basketball though. They're all over. So, you watch, you're like, oh, darn. Like, she's pretty. Like you said about Nebraska. They got some pretty ones. But I don't think of them like that. And because, I guess I should because I am overweight. I'm not, the only thing I'm not is I'm not semi-opinionated. I'm very opinionated.
Yeah. Okay. Hannah Stokey's from Cedar Rapids, Washington High School.
Cedar Rapids. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. But Iowa's pitching staff, they have.
I looked it up and Brian already had it up there. Thank you, Brian. Well,
We
for
should
the
probably start wrapping
20th
this
ranked
up
team
anyway.
lost in the quarterfinals tonight.
I'm pretty sure he's from that area too. Played for CR Washington. Okay. I think Brian's from that area. I'm pretty positive. Iowa. But anyway, yeah.
I know where he's at, but I promised I wouldn't make a big deal out of it. I'd low key it.
Well, I didn't say where he was. He's just in that area somewhere.
Yeah, he knows. I know where he's at.
Well,
okay.
So do I. I just not gonna say.
Yeah. He asked me to low key it, so I'm low keying it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I understand.
But guys, I think Paul mentioned it.
protection.
We're kind of running out of time here. Guys, it was a good show.
Until you let me talk about freaking baseball. You shut down baseball talk.
Guys, I got to answer this.
But you guys don't like hardball, so that's fine.
Well, I guess here's our opportunity to end the show here.
Yep.
So,
phone call. Like, how professional is that?
Well, you gotta go. So, I would say hi, Terry.
That was Mercy Southwest Hospital. I took it because that's where I'm having my surgery Tuesday, but they were looking for somebody named Cherry, so not me.
Yeah, you don't look
like cherry pie.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel because we talk about more than just sports, apparently.
All right, we'll give the final comment to Phil Parker's paw.
$8. Remember that, right? Right. When
Daddy's little girl.
Yeah, Alex, I'll text you and tell you about it. All righty, guys, it was a fun show. I enjoyed this show thoroughly, and we had a good time. And Paul, thank you for being there for the whole show. I pray you get a little more sleep tonight, or at least feel rested when you get up.
Sounds good to me, guys.
And Wednesday night at 8, and we'll talk about the Iowa-Indiana basketball game, correct? And then the future of Iowa against, because we'll know Iowa against Purdue, or no, they play Thursday. Purdue or Wisconsin.
Right. Yeah, we'll have a better idea where we sit. What it would take if we lose or win against Nebraska over the weekend. Where we sit for the tournament by that time, we'll have a good idea. Like they'll need to win this game, or they'll need to lose this game, and this is where they'll sit. By that time, they'll have it figured out, I think, or maybe not.
What kind of life would that be? Losing consecutive senior days to Nebraska. Football.
It can happen. It can happen. Nebraska's playing good ball right now. I think it's because they got all those transfers, and earlier in the year, they just weren't gelling. But now they're kind of gel. They're kind of comfortable with each other, and
I don't know. I'm not gonna accept that.
I know. I'm not saying we're gonna lose because I picked that as a win.
I'm not gonna accept it. I can't. Two senior days.
Unfortunately, we lost a game that I said we would win, which was against Wisconsin. So my record is going to be one off because I still think we're probably going to lose to Indiana. I hope we don't, but you never know.
I'm done predicting this team. This team is nuts.
Yeah, and that's true. That's absolutely true. Who knows?
They can beat them and they can lose.
Yeah. The thing is, they could come out and probably smoke Indiana at Indiana and then just get smoked at home by Nebraska. That's the way this team goes.
Yeah, you never know with this team. If they're hot, they're hot. If they're not, they're not.
Yeah. Let's hope they carry. How many 3-pointers did they have in the last game?
16.
Anybody know?
16?
16? Okay.
I believe.
Let's hope they carry that over.
I'm going off now. So,
Brian wants Iowa in the Indiana game. So good job, Brian.
Love it.
All righty, guys. Let's get out of here before we get this any longer and keep finding things to talk about because we got Wednesday night ahead. See you guys Wednesday night.
See you guys.
Beauty sleep he needs.
Yeah.
Bye, Terry.
Yeah. Bye, Terry.